I think we're just approaching that 33 minutes past, Lewis, so we're going to get started now.
Great.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining the Power Platforms webinar. My name is Richard Meek. I'm the marketing manager here at Cobweb. Our Power Platforms engineer, Lewis Williams, will be giving your presentation very, very shortly. Just to remind you that this is a 4-part series, so by signing up to this one, you do have access to the other 3 webinars we'll be doing, which is a deeper dive into the individual sections of Power Platforms. So Power Automate on the 26th of April, PowerApps on the 10th of May, and Power BI on the 17th of May. With housekeeping, we will be sending you the recording of this straight after the webinar. If you have any questions throughout, please just drop them into the chat, and we'll deal with the Q&A section at the end. And yeah, we hope you enjoy the webinar and that you're able to attend all of the 4-part series. So I'm going to pass over to Lewis now, who's going to give you an introduction to Power Platforms.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Richard. So yeah, basically what we decided to do within Cobweb, we decided to run this little mini series to sort of assist you guys, our customers, with what Power Platforms is. So we are aware that we've made most of you guys aware by now through our salespeople or our account managers that Power Platforms is available within your tenant and on your capacities. Sometimes though that can be a little bit difficult to translate that across. It's all well and good somebody saying it's available, but without any prior explanation or without any sort of time sort of explaining the product, you don't really know what it is. So that's why here at Cobweb we've started this mini series just explaining the key parts of Power Platforms, and in more detail in the independent sessions we'll run through the 3 main areas of Power Platforms in general. So we'll start off, we'll do a quick overview of the sort of 4 areas of Power Platforms. So there is 4 areas, although I previously did mention that there was 3. We will exclusively be covering off Power Apps, Power Automate and Power BI, mainly because this is our specialism. There is some Power Virtual Agent stuff. It is a much smaller program than Power BI, Power Automate and Power Apps, and it is a lot more niche. So we are more than happy to assist you with that if you do have any questions or support with Virtual Agent. But just so that you are aware, Virtual Agent won't be fully covered in these sessions. So we'll start by explaining Power Apps. So Power Apps is a low-code / no-code app development suite. So what that basically means, to put it outside of all the terms and terminology, is that this is a citizen development platform. So what this allows you to do is that with very low code and low expertise, it allows you to build useful and powerful applications that you otherwise would not have been able to develop without a developer, without sort of somebody that knows PHP, HTML, or without a web designer. So what Power Apps does is that it puts the power to be able to develop your business needs applications in the hands of standard users. So people from all areas of the business. Microsoft can support this by 2 key areas. So model-driven applications and canvas-driven applications. Model-driven are your out-of-the-box, fresh packaged, already built applications that do utilize the no-code platform. So it uses very minimal code within the Power Platforms offerings and within the canvas that you can develop your apps on. Or alternatively, you've got canvas-driven apps, which are your full customized apps, which allow you to do any sort of UI development, and it allows you to embed the custom functions within there. So generally, model-driven apps are your very early days, so when you're initially learning. And canvas apps are your more bespoke built up ones. Power Automate, that is a flow, so a process flow that links applications into the Power Platform service. So it doesn't exclusively have to operate on the Power Platform service, it just links that in. So with Power Automate, you can create work process flows, you can create smart AI bots, which leads into the virtual agents areas. And you can build processes which effectively eliminate the human need for contact. So if, for example, in your role, you get emailed an Excel file once or twice a week or however frequent, you get emailed an Excel file with data inside that Excel file, which you need to upload to a server or you need to upload into an application, a web application. Power Automate eliminates the need for yourself to do that. So what you would do is that you would either speak to ourselves, where we can design this for you, or you would develop the Power Automate flow to automatically upload that Excel document into the database that you required. As long as they had the connectors to support them, that wouldn't be a problem. Then moving on, we've got Power BI. So Power BI is your data analytics side of things. So that is where you will take your big data set, so your SQL database, your Dynamics database, and you will create visual applications and visual reports to display your data in a way that makes sense. So realistically, what we've got is PowerApps is management of your data, Power Automate is transferal of the data, and Power BI is viewership of the data, with Power Virtual Agents coming in to assist with smart AI bots for your Power Apps or Power Automate functions should they require it. So that is the sort of the full scope of the Power Platforms platform, really. Odd wording, but we will now move on to properly deep dive into, or sort of surface level deep dive into Power BI. So what we'll do is we'll start off with what Power BI is. So Power BI is a business analytics tool which offers easy connections into various data sources. From these data sources, you can create visuals to gain business insights into your data and a quick and simple to understand form. So what it does is that it takes your big, complicated 10,000 columns or 10,000 rows and 100 column data set, and it translates that into a colorful visual image so that you can actually gain simpler understanding of your data set rather than looking through your data set and trying to sort of claw out the information yourself. It's presented to you. So how do you present your data? So how does that even start? So first off, you have to connect to your data. So Power BI offers multiple data connectors, is the term that Microsoft use, to easily connect to data sources like Dynamics Dataverse, Microsoft SQL, and even SharePoint lists as well. So if you have a SharePoint list or if you have files on a SharePoint, Power BI has connectors to be able to bring that data into Power BI. Power BI also offers data connectors for third-party data sources. So it doesn't have to be a data source or a location where it is exclusively built around Microsoft. Power BI does also support programs such as Salesforce, Google Analytics, SurveyMonkey, and many, many more. I would like to be able to list all of the connectors, but unfortunately we are now looking so that it is in the hundreds. So realistically, it's a little bit unachievable to be able to list it because you guys will probably get bored listening to me list off connectors. So that is something that I would strongly recommend you guys look into in your own time if you are interested in Power BI. So once you have connected your data into the Power BI reports, you link the tables together using relationships. And then once you've set up your relationships to be able to create connections to those tables so that so Power BI sees your data as a seamless data set, you can then start the data understanding. The next step that you move on to will be your data transformation and visual creation. So this is where you actually start transforming your data from your database into the understandable data so that you can create visuals, as well as creating those visuals to correctly display your data in your report. So within Power BI desktop application, there is a resource called Power Query Editor. This Power Query Editor allows you to complete advanced customizations on your data, such as data type changing, renaming columns, as well as creating custom columns, and as well as offering data merging and appending functions, which allows you to add data from external data tables into the current data table that you are looking at. So what that allows you to do is that it allows you to create custom columns based off of your data so that you can actually build data in there that wasn't already present on your database, should you need that. It will also allow you to merge data. So should you have a data to air layout which is identical between two data tables, but they are separated, you can merge them together so that they become one data table. We do that with the Cobweb and Fusion database. So we merge those two databases so they become one, so that we only have to query a single database. So Power BI also offers an expansive range of built-in visuals, such as bar, line graphs, and pie charts, tables, data filters, and much more. Alongside the built-in offerings, Power BI also allows third parties to develop visuals for you to bring into your Power BI report should you need it. This allows for an expansive selection of custom visuals being offered, and this collection is only growing. So Power BI and Microsoft are investing more money inside of Power BI, and third-party companies such as Salesforce, SurveyMonkey, Reviews.io are realizing the power of Power BI, and they're realizing how much function companies are being able to pull off of Power BI. So they are supporting it, and they will continue to support that for the future. So outside of your data visualizations and your manipulation, you also have a data understanding function within Power BI. So these features are explained previously. This will give you your business insights and give your business access to the crucial data that it requires to make important business decisions. So for example, this will Power BI utilizes or allows you to be able to track your exact numbers. So say, for example, if you're a service desk manager or you're a help desk manager, Power BI empowers you to have the accurate numbers for how many calls you receive in a day. It empowers you to have the accurate number of daily tickets raised. So the importance of Power BI isn't necessarily Power BI giving you the answers for your business. What it's doing is that it's giving you the data that you've already got there and unlocking it so that you guys can actually have full 100% understanding of what's going inside your business and what's going on inside your business. So, and to sort of prove the power of Power BI, we have a couple of case studies that I'd like to run past quite quickly with you guys. So these won't take long, but the first one is T-Mobile. So everybody should have heard of T-Mobile now. I believe they don't operate in the UK anymore. I believe that they're more in Europe now because they operate under EE. But T-Mobile would be a business that most people would have been familiar with. So we have T-Mobile, and we also have another company called Blackmoor's. So T-Mobile being the company most people heard of, by leveraging Power BI, T-Mobile are able to drill down on a store level and track sales. So the screenshot that you see on the right-hand side of your page is an example of the mobile layout of how they run their Power BI. So this Power BI they've developed allows them to use the Power BI mobile applications, because most of the store managers walk about their stores with either a mobile device or a tablet. So utilizing the Power BI with this tablet has given these managers functionality to be able to wander around so that they're not stuck to a desk. This allows stores to directly analyze their own results, giving them footfall records, giving them the top sales and the bottom sales of the day. So it allows stores to have full viewership of what they are and what they aren't selling. This also has lots of other features such as market totals. So they know for a fact if the market on a certain product is lower, they know the exact reason why. It also has a month-to-date tracking, so it allows stores to, on the fly, whenever the manager requires, to pull out those live numbers and update the records so that their managers aren't constantly chasing them for numbers. This also allows companies like T-Mobile to have full viewership over the business, so that this doesn't require a regional manager to speak to each of his store managers to be able to understand this information. All this requires him to do is open up the Power BI service application on his laptop and load up the Power BI reports. If T-Mobile or anything like how Cobweb work and how we operate with Power BI, they will have already have those reports set up. So there'll be regions that will be built in within the Power BI development, within the Power BI development project. So that's one example. So T-Mobile's. Another example is Blackmoor's. So Blackmoor's have leveraged a couple of other programs inside of Power BI to fully utilize the Power Platform service. But this, again, on the right-hand side is a screenshot of the example of Blackmoor's application they developed. So the second company I wanted to highlight was Blackmoor's Group, an Australian natural health company. So Blackmoor's wished to leverage Power BI into their custom Power Apps, so their Canvas Power App. This is so that they could keep track of their data and not fall behind in the market, since the health market is such an easy area to fall back on, and for other companies to be able to sort of take your rug out from underneath you. So they use Power BI to assist its consumers and its business internally and externally, so that they have a growth development tracker as well as a goal development tracker. So what this does is that it allows them to do month-to-date tracking again, so it allows them to track their month-to-date figures. It also allows them personal goal tracking, so it allows employees to fully understand where their personal goals are, where they may be falling behind, and where they may be exceeding. So with this, it also had a workload management system. So Power BI allowed staff to keep. Sorry, I've just seen a message from Stephen. You're not seeing a screen share. So if you try logging out and logging back in, we might be able to see that. If not, this session is recorded following the meeting. So if you aren't able to see the recording, or if you aren't able to see the screen share, you're more than welcome to join for the recording later on, if that assists. So within this application, we'll go back to the to the slides now. So within this application, it allowed workload management as well. So it allowed employees to fully utilize this application for goal tracking, attendance, so how much they were completing during the day, as well as allowing them to keep accurate tracks of their workload, so any active jobs that they had available. Okay, so we're now, I just saw you join back up, Stephen, so I hope that you are able to see the screen share now. Let us know in the chat if you have any problems. And as Richard mentioned earlier, if any of you do have any questions as we're going through, please just drop the question in the chat and we'll come back to it at the end. Okay, so we'll go for the discussion of PowerApps now. So PowerApps offers various different methods for app development within the Power App Canvas. So there are two key parts of application development that PowerApps supports. The first one being model-driven application. So starting with model-driven applications, these are your simple to configure in and out of the box style. So you will package the app, you will select the template of the app that you require or you wish to build. You will then create that template using the template provided by Power BI, and you will create that application from that template. Okay, these are offered via pre-built solutions within the PowerApps canvas to suit the requirements of the PowerApps development. So as you see here in the screenshot on the right-hand side of the page, I believe that is, I believe that is a Canvas app, which we'll go on to describe in a second. So model-driven apps are a great way to build a simple app to just display required information to employees. So one of the ways that Cobweb utilizes PowerApps ourselves is we actually have model-driven applications that run our entire CRM system. So we use Microsoft Dynamics as our CRM system, and we have built the model-driven sections out so that all of our CRM system is built off of model-driven PowerApps. That has fantastic functionality for future as well, because that also allows our staff to, once we've enabled it and once we've tested it without the department, because it is a very new function, it will also allow our staff to have offline CRM mode. So what we'll be able to do is that we'll be able to configure staff to be able to utilize the CRM system without the need of a internet connection, which is a very important thing should you have staff that are remote or changing sites quite frequently. So moving over onto the sort of more custom side of PowerApps, Canvas-driven applications. So Canvas applications are the custom option within the PowerApps resource, which allows you to configure and build custom-made applications, as you see from the screenshot on the page. So this is a custom-built application that what they've built to do looks like it's heavy equipment checking. So it's service records of heavy equipment. So Canvas Apps is a fantastic way to develop a web applications for users, allowing full customization of most components within the Power Apps. So model driven is simple to set up, but it doesn't allow much customization, whereas Canvas is more complicated and more involved to set up, but you have full customization to a degree. Okay, so now we'll move on to a couple of examples that we've got for case studies. So these case studies are all available within the Microsoft ecosystem. I'll make them available following the discussion at the end of the session. I'll drop the links for all of them into the chat, so that should you have any that jump out on you, you can go back and read into it in more details. For the more independent sessions of Power Apps and Power Automate and Power BI, I will cherry pick a single case study to fully deep dive through, so that we can fully describe and understand how other companies have utilized Power Platforms and how you guys can utilize Power Platforms within your company. So the first case study we have is Toyota. So using the Power Apps Center of Excellence kit, so that is a resource that is available within Power Apps. It's on the governance side of Power Apps, but we would strongly recommend you have a look into it. But using the Center for Excellence kit, literally called the Center for Excellence kit, within the Power Apps offerings, the Toyota Group was able to develop governance around Power Apps to allow users within their tenant to freely and without restrictions develop apps that they feel that they require to be able to complete their job. So should an employee have an idea that they think that they can eliminate some processes through their core job, they would develop an application and they would use that applications to assist their jobs. But in order to complete this, to control this development, the governance had to be put in place to ensure that Toyota kept control of Power Apps. Because if you allow citizens, and especially with a company the size of Toyota, if you allowed citizens to develop within your tenant, you will have a significant growth within that tenant that you can't really keep a track of. It's very difficult to keep a track of. And you will then replace the time that you will spend saving via these Power Apps, Power Automates, and Power BI. You will spend that time just catching up with staff. So the Center for Excellence unlocks a lot of governance. So one of the key functions that the Toyota Group used within the Center for Excellence was a 5-point approval system, where employees must gain approval from 5 levels within the company in order to share the app within the tenant. If denied, employees can continue development of their application, but without the ability to share the application with other users. So what Toyota were basically saying is that they didn't want to stop citizen developers from being able to develop. They wanted to just limit the amount that those custom applications can be shared within the company. So one of the key apps that the Toyota Group decided to develop was a quality control app, which allowed dealerships to log customer issues for viewership of head office. So should a customer have an issue, say for example they buy a new car and they get it delivered and it is dirty or it has a scratch on the door that wasn't there when they were looking at it, Toyota would open up this Power App. They would log this error and the process would be identical to how it used to run, but this would allow head office of Toyota to keep viewership of this. So they know they can track how many issues a certain dealership has had, in a certain time frame, so they can start diagnosing the issues from a head office perspective rather than waiting for the store manager to raise this. So ultimately, what this is doing within Toyota's tenant and within the Toyota industry and their company, their organization, it's unlocking their assistant managers and their regional managers to see the data that they otherwise probably wouldn't have been able to see. Okay, so as you can see, there's a couple of screenshots. So you've got like an overview page which says they have a new app, and then show me the others out there. Also show the available apps as well as the development. And then there is also the PowerApps registry. So that's how they request a new app to be approved. Okay, moving on to our second case study for PowerApps. So this is a company called Ernst Young, or EY. So our second case study is EY is a professional services firm who during the COVID-19 pandemic saw that the Paycheck Protection Program that was created within the US was difficult to keep track of, and wanted to take the opportunity to assist other companies with keeping accurate tracking of that Paycheck Protection Program. So by leveraging PowerApps, EY were able to produce a Power App for their banking customers to keep track of claims and loans that were supplied during the pandemic to their customers. This was designed to eliminate time-consuming spreadsheets, as well as allowing companies to streamline their operation with Power Automate, doing a lot of So Power Automate was doing a lot of data work in the background, so staff didn't have to manually complete the old tasks that was required within the payment protection scheme. That was so for applications and for loans within the payment protection scheme or paycheck protection scheme. So because of that, they were able to produce a tailor-made system for each of their customers, allowing their customers to see a customized portal which suited their bespoke requirements. So for example, the screenshot on the right-hand side is an example of one of their end customers. So this was Nexus was their end customers. It allows them to see using Power BI, it allows them to see their total outgoings. It allows them to see the details of the loan or what loan they have taken out, as well as further tabs for full information. So it really is a full package that has been delivered by Ernst Young for their customers. Okay, so we'll pop over to Power Automate now. So again, Power Automate, so PowerApps, Power BI are more for your doing within Power or viewing, should I say, not doing. So it's more for the viewing. So PowerApps will allow you to view, edit, update, and read your data. Power BI will allow you to read and analyze that data. Power Automate is the doing side of the Power Platforms. So Power Automate is the one that's moving your data across, that's completing your manual or manual processes that can be automated. So Power Automate, or you may have previously known it as Microsoft Flow, allows you to develop automated workflows between Microsoft or other third-party applications. This allows staff to avoid annoying or repetitive tasks, allowing them to save valuable work time. So Power Automate offers you a library of pre-built process flows for an out-of-the-box experience, as well as allowing custom flows to be developed within the Power Automate solution. So with these pre-built flows, this often allows the users to create process flows through a template so that they are able to scope jobs and estimate development times accurately. Some examples of the pre-built flows are automating an email attachment saving. So exactly as what I was saying earlier. So an example could be if you get sent emails, so an Excel document that you need to upload to a server, Power Automate can do that for you automatically. Approvals within Teams is shown in the screenshot. So that is how, or the screenshot on the right hand side of your page is a manual sort of the overview look of how Power Automate looks to saving approval within Teams. So this is actually what Cobweb use, an example of what Cobweb use. Automated planner task creation, as well as many other functions. Again, a bit like Power BI connectors, there is so many functions available within this that it's difficult to list, but we would strongly suggest you have a look at the Power Automate splash page as a minimum if you are interested in it, and if you do think that there is some money saving within your company. So built-in connectors for Power Automate include Gmail, Google Drive, GitHub, Salesforce, Adobe Sign, and as usual, many more. So all of the Office suite is supported by Power Automate, and the majority of Microsoft functionality is supported within Power Automate as well. So these connectors are available as standard, as well as some being premium features within Power Automate. So Power Automate is generally split into sort of two ways of you having functionality. Is either you pay for the premium full license, or you can sometimes have a seeded license, which will give you availability and it will give you access into the Power Automate program, but it won't allow you to utilize any of the premium functions. They will come at an additional license expense. So Power Automate allows you to add steps into any process, allowing you to activate certain requirements before the flow has finished. For example, if an approval flow was created, Power Automate can have a requirement for this request to be approved before continuing with the remainder of the workflow. So what it will have is that it will have a trigger is listed as a requirement. For example, in the screenshot on the right-hand side, a trigger would be the SharePoint connector at the top, which is activated when a file is uploaded to SharePoint. Power Automate offers time-saving techniques by eliminating these processes from employee workloads, reducing the need to chase and update records manually. So with Power Automate built within your system and built within your tenant and set up within your tenant, you shouldn't have to have your employees doing these manual chase around, run around jobs. You can allow a AI service to do it for you. So again, as always with the other programs that we talked about today, we will run through a couple of case studies. So our first case study is Illimity, a bank, an international bank, I believe. So you may be aware of Illimity, and maybe not. Illimity is the first cloud-native bank located within Italy. So yep, European national within Italy. They were looking at Power Automate to try to remove the manual processes from their loan applications. So they would have a manual, costly process that would take them hours, if not days, to complete. Should a business call up or an independent consumer calls up, requests a loan, and they have to go through this manual process. So Power Automate removes that manual process and allows it to function and flow without the need of staff intervention. So originally, a single employee would manually process the email requests or messages or phone calls from employees making loan requests. They would then follow a complex process of pre-screening, collating request details, and sending summaries for additional authorization. So that was a whole process where they'd have to collect and collate emails, messages, probably across multiple different resources. So they could be looking at emails, they could be looking at text messages, and they could be referring to a phone recording. So they're having to collate a lot of information. They then have to follow a complex process of pre-screening, as well as sending summaries for additional authorization. So what Power Automate allows Illimity to do is create a Microsoft form which employees log their requests into. Once the request has been logged, a Power Automate workflow ingests this data into the data set, completing the previous required calculations automatically. So where a manual employee would have needed to sit down and work out those calculations manually, that is now calculated automatically. This is an estimate. This is estimated to have saved employees around 15 hours per week in processes. So what they've been able to do is that they've been able to turn their 35-hour work week, let's say, into a 20-hour work week. So they're essentially able to save around 45% of their time working, or 30% of their time working, sorry, near enough. So a massive chunk of time has just been unlocked from Illimity. So what that allows them to do is that has allowed them to reduce its initial process time for a loan from an hour to under 20 minutes. So usually it would take an employee to an hour, just over an hour, to get a loan approved. That's now 20 minutes. So that's now thirded their times of what they require. Also, employees are receiving their request within days as opposed to weeks. So because it doesn't need to go through this long drawn out process with switching between people, switching between workloads, because Power Automate deals with it, Power Automate picks it up, configures it as needed and as set up, and then it delivers what's requested within minutes rather than hours. So a real powerful one and a real good way of showing the power of Power Automate. So we'll move on to Quote Wizard, which is an alternative. So last but not least, the last case study that I wanted to mention today was Quote Wizard. So Quote Wizard connects online customers with competitive insurance quotes, meaning that their customers can often find cheaper quotes for insurance than what they could online if they use Quote Wizard. So for development requests, Quote Wizards used a human-powered ticketing system, which wasn't scalable or flexible. It was led by a single lead engineer, often leading to do backlogs or jobs being missed if the employee was not present at work. So they had a single IT director that used to deal with their entire ticket system for development. So it was not an ideal solution at all, and not a scalable solution. So should Quote Wizard grow by any more than a couple of %, that employee is now struggling to be able to complete his role in the time set about by the business. So realistically, it's not an ideal situation at all. So for development requests, so using Power Platforms, Quote Wizard was able to leverage Power Automate to remove the manual process from this system and replace it with a PowerApps / process flow system that they built within Power Automate. So they utilized a key feature of Power Automate, which is machine learning. This allows their systems and flows to learn from engineers' tickets assignments. So what you will do is that when Power Automate's in learning mode, if you have to go through a GUI to do something, you will click through buttons. Power Automate will ensure that it's keeping accurate track of what buttons you're clicking, and that machine will learn to be able to complete that manual GUI work automatically instead of you having to do it. So due to the tickets being assigned faster, because the AI was able to learn who to assign it to, more and the reliability was increased as well, this allowed Quote Wizard's operating potential to increase significantly. Previously, it used to take an average of 2 hours to assign a ticket. Now it's being assigned within minutes, so less than 5 minutes, which is again, similar to Illimity, is a fantastic and a massive improvement on their old systems, and it really does display the strength of Power Automate to remove these old systems and the value that you can really pull out of one of these systems. Okay, so that is the last case study of today. That's the last thing that we'll cover off sort of technically. I realise that we've talked for a little over half an hour, so some of you are probably a little bit fried with all of that information. So we wanted to say thank you, and if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or feel free to come off mute and we'll try and answer them here and now.
Great, thank you, Lewis. That's really, really interesting. Yeah, if you drop them in the chat, I don't think anyone has the ability to come off mute, so we'll just do them in the chat. But a couple of questions we've had, which were sent through beforehand for people that couldn't attend. In terms of licensing, do I have to license my whole company, or can I do it for individuals within the company?
No, so it can be done independently. So PowerApps, or the entire platform, allows for per user and per tenant licensing. So PowerApps is per app or per user. Power BI is per user or per tenant, and Power Automate is per flow or per user.
Great. Another question: is it available on all Microsoft-based packages? So I think this came from a customer that currently has Business Basics,
Okay.
and they're just wondering, which Microsoft SKUs it's available on.
So it's available to any Microsoft SKU. You don't have to have a Microsoft tenant necessarily to begin with. We can still just deploy it into you if you need it. So you don't need an Office subscription necessarily. There are licenses which are included within certain packages. What I would recommend is that please feel free to reach out to one of to either your account manager or one of our sales guys, or just raise your hand or drop a message in the chat and I'll get back to you and have a discussion with you specifically what licenses and how you're looking at doing that.
Okay, fantastic. I haven't got any more questions. I haven't seen any more come through, but so yeah, thank you very much, Lewis, for that. I think by giving the examples and the case studies, it's really interesting to help people understand. Something I would encourage everyone to do, and like I say, reach out to sales, reach out to marketing, reach out to your account managers. If you've got something in your business that's causing you an issue, or you're finding tiresome, or it's spending too long on it, whatever it is, there may be a solution for it within PowerApps. So let us address your problems, and you come to us with your problems, and I'm sure that we may be able to come up with a solution for you. And like I say, particularly those last two case studies, the amount of time saved, which then obviously cost savings, and the ability to work on other areas of your business could be really, really useful. So thank you everybody for attending. Thank you, Lewis, for a really, really interesting presentation. And we hope to see everyone at the next Power Automate webinar, which is the same time next week on the 26th of April. So thank you very much.
Licensing is something that we will also cover off in the next session.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Take care all.